We all know I love the Resident Evil saga, and that it's one of my favorite video game series of all time. Okay, maybe you don't know this, but now you do. So when Resident Evil Requiem was announced, I was all in. I've played almost every mainstream game, and as many of the side games as well, such as Outbreak, Dead Aim, and the such. Yeah, I'm slacking and haven't played Village yet, but we'll get around to it soon, I promise. But anyway, back to Requiem. Play as Leon again? Absolutely, count me in. I refused to watch any of the trailers, and wanted to be pleasantly surprised with everything I encountered in the game. As such, I had no idea what to expect. But wow, what a game. Before continuing, I should note that there might be some minor spoilers in this video. I will keep them to an absolute minimum, but I can't guarantee that you might see something that might give you a hint on what you might run into. So if that may upset you, feel free to stop watching. Seriously, I wouldn't blame you, this game is just too damn good. In Resident Evil Requiem, you play as two characters. One is the aforementioned fan favorite Leon S. Kennedy. He had his start as a rookie Raccoon City police officer, whose first day was the same fateful day in which the T-Virus got released into the city. He now works for another agency that aims to fight bioterroristic threats, and is called to the location of the game to look for a rogue Umbrella agent. The second character is an FBI analyst named Grace Ashcroft. She was tasked by her supervisor to check out a derelict hotel in which a body had been found. To add a bit of trauma to this objective, this is the same hotel in which Grace's mother, Alyssa, had been brutally murdered in several years prior. Leon and Grace's path will cross multiple times, and it's up to you, the player, to ensure they both survive. Right from the start, you are given the choice to play in first or third person, which is an interesting change from the previous Resident Evil games. The game recommends that you play in first person for the horror-heavy Grace segments, and in third person in the action-oriented Leon stages. This can be changed at any time, but I felt that the default settings worked perfectly fine to maintain that Resident Evil atmosphere. So let's start with Grace. Again, she's the primary spooky themed character, and the first person helps draws out the scares. She moves slowly and deliberately, and ammo is a bit more scarce. It's definitely encouraged to avoid combat when you can, as although Grace is a member of the FBI, she's definitely not someone with heavy field experience. She spooks easily, often reacting to any sudden noise or flash of a shadow. She also panics frequently during the cutscenes, although, to be fair, I can't really blame her with some of the stuff she encounters in her case. The game starts out in the hotel, and Grace is just following the debris-laden path until she finds a note to come to a specific room. Bad things start happening as a man named Victor Gideon is somehow able to inject civilians with the virus, turning them into bloodthirsty undead within seconds. Grace is captured and is brought to the first main area of the game, the Care Center. This is where Grace will spend the majority of her time, trying to find a way to escape. Keycards need to be found, puzzles will need to be solved, and escape from a hulking mass of skin will need to be conducted. The game really doesn't break from the Resident Evil formula, but it still does it well enough due to the way that the zombies react to the world. See, in Requiem, zombies aren't just mindlessly shambling away like in a lot of the prior games. Here, they almost seem to have kept a bit of their humanity, meaning that each has a sort of personality. You might encounter a creature that hates light and is enamored by a light switch. Turn the lights on, and it'll make its way back to the switch and turn it off. There's a maid that hates messes, and if you leave a blood trail by shooting another zombie, she might make her way to it and start cleaning it. It's little details like this that make the game's zombies feel a bit almost human, and I have chuckled a few times by just observing their mannerisms. That's not to say that they won't break habit and come after you though. I mean, they do want your brains, and if you get close enough to bother them, they will start chasing you. Thankfully, Grace is a decent shot, and if you are grabbed, there are a few knives that can be found to prevent more damage. She doesn't get a ton of weapons though, so get used to using pistols. In a strange alteration from previous crafting mechanics, Grace can create objects from the zombie's blood. Basically, she finds an object that can hold a limited supply of blood. By combining this with other items, she will craft important objects such as ammo, health upgrades, and Molotovs. Now, how you make pistol bullets out of some scrap and blood is beyond me, but hey, modern technology is amazing, isn't it? Of course, you don't get all of the crafting recipes right from the start of the game. Instead, they are steadily unlocked by finding different blood vials. When you locate one, you'll need to bring it to a specific piece of hardware and insert it. You'll then play a lights out style minigame, and once completed, you'll earn the new recipes. It's easy enough to do, and I'll admit it was a bit unexpected. You'll only run into this a small handful of times though. All of these ways for Grace to survive is great and all, but you'll still be challenged. In addition to the aforementioned lack of ammunition, Grace can't move very fast even when running. I think I brought this up when I did my playthrough of Resident Evil 7, but you think that when you are being chased by something that wants you dead, you would really push yourself, not go for a power walk. It's infuriating, sure, but you do get used to it. In addition, there are creatures that are a bit more durable that will attempt to hunt you down, like a chef that you will encounter in the kitchen. There's also a Mr. X style beast that will chase you in scripted areas, but thankfully, it's not nearly as annoying as Mr. X was. Just get to a heavily lighted area and you'll be fine. Let's shift gears to Leon. He is much more action focused and can best be described as a Resident Evil 4 playstyle. Ammo is much more available, with slain zombies often dropping bullets for you. Leon also has a much more devastating melee attack, both with his roundhouse kick and an axe that can be sharpened when the durability reaches 0. For the first half or so of the game, you'll barely be using Leon. You'll find out that Victor was the rogue umbrella lab rat that he's hunting for, so the first part of the game is Leon fighting the zombies Victor created on the city streets. You'll get a few other small parts, but Leon takes center stage when you return to Raccoon City. Personally, I didn't know that you returned to Raccoon City in this game because, as I said, I refused to watch any of the trailers or anything, so this was a really pleasant surprise. It was truly enjoyable to walk through the nuked city, looking at the aftermath. Your romp in the RPD precinct was sadly a bit short, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a smile on my face the entire time. Anyway, back to Leon's gameplay. The third-person view is perfect for this, due to a much heavier zombie presence. In addition to the standard melee and shooting, Leon can also pick up objects dropped by fallen zombies and use them against his foes. For example, if you see a fire axe on the ground, you can approach it and, as long as there is another enemy close by, you can press X to have Leon pick it up and whip it at the closest zombie, usually killing it in one hit and saving you some ammunition. Not like you really need to save bullets though, as they are plentiful. It got to a point in the game where I just had to start using weapons I wouldn't normally use, like the SMG and rifle, just to use up some of the ammo to free some space in my inventory. Being that Grace runs into smarter zombies, Leon does have that problem as well, although it's not nearly as bad. Well, then again, I guess it depends on your definition of bad. Leon faces some zombified members of the BSAA, another heavily armed force that fights bioterrorism and was first introduced in the series in, I believe, Resident Evil 5. These guys have guns, but being that their faculties aren't all there, they will simply hold down the trigger and hope to hit something. There's also a segment where you are looking for C4 detonator parts, where you'll have these undead BSAA guys using mortars against you. Bit crazy to see something like this in a Resident Evil game, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, and if you buy the body armor, the damage done is reduced slightly. Plus, once this is over, you can turn the mortars onto the undead and make them go splat. All of this culminates into a game that actually feels like 2 games. The first half focuses on Grace's story, with some unexpected jump scares that will probably make you leap a few times. Even parts when I knew something was going to happen, an event would take place that I wasn't expecting, and I still jumped. In fact, I got spooked a few more times than I'd like to admit, as I don't typically scare often in games. But RE Requiem got me, I'll admit it. In the second half of the game, the action takes the forefront, with Leon attempting to save Grace due to the events that I won't go into to avoid spoiling too much. At this point, the horror takes a backseat, with Grace getting only a few smaller sections from here on out. All of this leads to 2 endings to the game, and if you chose the bad one first like I did, the game will offer to reload to the minutes before you made the choice to correct it. Oddly enough, although there are green herbs, red herbs and first aid sprays are completely gone. This feels almost sacrilegious. These have been staples of the series since the original game, and Capcom wants to nix them? Sure, you get med injectors, which are essentially the same thing as the first aid spray, but with no red herbs. Now you just need to mix 3 of the green ones together to get the same effect. Anyway, I couldn't stop playing Resident Evil Requiem. Throughout its 9-ish hour playtime, I was completely enthralled. I'm kinda kicking myself for not pre-ordering the physical steelbook edition of the game, but that's hindsight I suppose. In any case, Requiem might be one of the best Resident Evil games available. With its mix of horror and action, it appeals to the fans of the older survival horror aficionados, as well as the post-RE4 diehards. The game keeps you on your toes, and references to the prior games will be sure to make any lore guru like myself giddy. And with the challenge system, along with a post-game puzzle that I haven't even explored yet, there's plenty of reason for subsequent playthroughs. You owe it to yourself to play Resident Evil Requiem. It's that good. Final score, 7 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.